Shima is a depressed loser who got abandoned by his daddy for being an emo loser, but his life changed when a girl with hidden fat jugs came into his life to be his wife. In the beginning, a car accident happened, and it took Shima's ability to use his right hand and clapped his mother straight to meet all anime mothers. Because of his disability, Shima's father, Tamayoshi, deems him useless to the family and exiles him to a villa where Shima gets depressed and considers yeeting his own life away. Meanwhile, in the mountains, a hooded woman sings through the night like she's in La La Land, walking towards the villa, and when she arrives, Shima wonders who it is. He opens the door and finds the hooded girl who introduces herself as Yuzuki, who is here to be Shima's bride. As he lets her in, he remembers his deadbeat father telling him that he will buy Shima a bride to take care of him. Shima looks back to Yuzuki and thinks to himself that she's probably been sold to cover a debt. He coldly shows her the room she'll be staying in, and she smiles at his gesture. The next morning, Yuzuki starts cleaning like a madman, and when Shima comes out of his room, she greets him and offers to wash his face, to which he half-heartedly accepts. She pushes his head close, noticing his panda eyes, realizing he hasn't slept well, and he pulls away embarrassed. He goes back to his room and wonders if his new life will be like this. For days, Yuzuki does her housewife duty like she's on crack, and it bothers Shima, who wants to just rot and die in peace. While Shima is bathing, Yuzuki comes into the bathroom, realizing he struggles to bathe with one hand, and she washes him. He thinks to himself that Yuzuki is a goody two-shoes who has no worries, but she feels offended and informs him that she does have worries. Shima realizes what he said was wrong, as Yuzuki probably was sold to pay her debts, but she suddenly takes off her braids and reveals that her worry is having long hair that is too fluffy. To see that her hair is her only worry, Shima starts laughing, and it makes Yuzuki happy to see him laugh, even if it's because of her hair. In her room, Yuzuki puts her braids back, and it reminds her of her past. She was a normal schoolgirl who enjoyed her life with her friends, and was such a kind girl that her friends loved to count on. Suddenly, she informed her friends that she would be leaving the school, and when they asked why, she explained that her parents were deep in debt, and she had to be married to the lender's son. While the friends tried to reason with her to stay, she told them that she had no choice but to do her best for her new husband. On New Year's Eve, Shima is stuck in his room, seeing the New Year Numi as a scam, as his life will stay miserable. Unable to sleep, he gets out of his room, haunted by his family who want him to die instead of his mother, stating that they don't care that he's gone from their lives. Suddenly, Yuzuki shows up, sits across from him, and starts a fire. She asks to stay up with him, to which he agrees while he still thinks that her presence annoys him. Then she starts making a creamy white drink, and it triggers Shima's anger to explode at Yuzuki, demanding her to confess to him how horrible she feels about living with a cripple like him. However, she pours him a drink, and when Shima drinks it, he can taste how sweet and warm it is. She tells him that it's milk he's drinking and how she used to drink it with her friends back at school while singing till the morning comes. Yuzuki starts singing her song, and it reminds Shima of how his mother used to sing him the same song. Shima starts venting about how he can't sleep every night, thinking of how much he wants to die and not wanting to feel pain anymore, but suddenly, Yuzuki comforts him. He asks why she's so kind to him, unlike his own family, and she tells him that when his father first bought him, she was scared to meet Shima, but after meeting him, Shima treated her so kindly she felt sure with herself that he will cherish her. Now she wants to cherish him back, and he folded hearing her sentiment. She asks if they can sleep together to commemorate their first New Year holiday, and Shima starts tweaking. In his room, Shima is panicking, not knowing where to put it in or what a plot hole is like. While he tries researching in a magazine, Yuzuki comes in with a futon and sleeps on it, and Shima just realizes she meant sleeping together literally. Yuzuki tells him that they can't share the bed as she never knows what a golden pickle feels like in her plot hole, but she assures Shima that he will get the first ride and pop her cherry. While Shima believes that she shouldn't give her first time away to a man she doesn't love, she tells him that she wants to learn more about him and eventually fall in love. She holds his hand before falling asleep, and after everything he hears, Shima struggles to sleep. The next morning, she wakes him up with a smile and serves him soup as breakfast to celebrate the new year, and after the first slurp, Shima creams. It sticks to the back of his head what Yuzuri said when she wanted to love him. But even then, as an edgy pessimist who loves breaking Benjamin, he refuses to believe that he will love her back. The next day, Shima goes to the bathroom and finds Yuzuki bathing inside, causing them both to freak out. After that, she apologizes for flashing him her plots, but he assures her that he didn't see anything as the room was foggy and hazy. She feels relieved and serves him food with his fish dubone before leaning on him, causing Shima to blush. While they eat, Yuzuki cleans rice from his face, and he tries hard to convince himself that a pessimist like him will never love a girl like her. Suddenly, a mailman delivers Shima a letter from his father, and inside, the cruel father informs Shima that both his siblings have received marriage offers, but because Shima's existence brings shame to their family, the father decides that Shima has died in the accident, so their family won't be ashamed for having a useless son anymore. At night, Yuzuki tries to get Shima to come out for dinner, especially after he missed lunch, but Shima refuses to come out and tells Yuzuki to leave him alone, so she covers up the soup. However, a cat pops up and yoinks a fish that was meant for Shima, leaving Yuzuki in the dust. That night, she wakes up and gets anxious over Shima. The following day, Yuzuki continues his wifely duties while Shima is still stuck in his room, refusing to get out, but Yuzuki gathers her bravery and enters his room to leave food for him. But she realizes that he's not moving, and when she checks on him, she finds out that Shima is suffering an extreme fever. While Yuzuki takes care of him, Shima is dreaming about his father abandoning him, deeming his death a gift for the family and his siblings, so that they can proceed with the marriage. Hours later, Shima wakes up, wishing life would clap him to death, stating how people would gain something from his death, including Yuzuki, who would be free from her forced marriage with him. He starts laughing, plotting multiple ways he can get his life yeeted away from him. But Yuzuki holds his face and tells him that there's nothing to laugh about. He states that laughing is the only way he can say these things after his father wishes him to die, but she comforts him with tears in her eyes, saying that with all the pain he endures, he shouldn't hurt himself more. Suddenly, he feels sick to the stomach and Yuzuki hugs him, telling him to let it rip, and he hugs her back to feel her comfort. The next morning, he wakes up healthy, and when he goes looking for Yuzuki, he spots her clothes on the hanger, realizing the damage his puke has done. As he walks to the kitchen, he can hear Yuzuki singing, and he just stands there watching her. Yuzuki gets shocked after seeing him and asks why he got out of bed. When Shima says that he got bored sleeping alone, she takes it that he was lonely from missing her. But he nervously denies it. She asks for his forehead for a fever check, and after finding out his fever has gone down, she puts her robe on him and tells him to warm up. After what happened with her outfit, Shima feels guilty, so he asks her to go to Tokyo together with him. As they arrive, Yuzuki's eyes are sparkling with happiness after seeing the stylish buildings and people's drip. While Yuzuki is very happy about this trip, Shima starts to regret it, not wanting to meet people who know him, but to pay his debt to Yuzuki, he perseveres. They go to a fancy mall where people's drip is drippy, and prices cost a kidney. But to Yuzuki, it's a dream come true. She starts screaming at the sight of the beautiful materials, but she still has to ask Shima if he can afford to spend so much on her, and he tells her to go ham on the shopping to replace her old kimono, so she starts shopping. Yuzuki asks for his opinion on the materials, but after being indecisive, he tells her to buy them both, and while she panics, he flexes on these broke peasants and buys 3 of them. After shopping, Shima apologizes for ruining her kimono and asks if it has any sentimental value to her. Yuzuki informs him that it was the first one she ever sew, and it makes Shima feel even more guilty. She assures him that it's okay now since she will now use the material Shima bought for her, and it'll become the first kimono her lover and husband bought for her, potentially an heirloom for their future kids, and Shima blushes hearing that. Yuzuri states that she can't wait to make a kimono out of her new materials and wear it just like the singer Shiratori Kotori. When Shima asks who that is, Yuzuri explains that Kotori is a talented artist who plays multiple instruments, and one that she and her friends fangirl about. Then they walk past a restaurant, and when Yuzuki sees an ice cream, she starts drooling, so he takes her for some ice cream, which she's really excited about. She takes the first bite and creams, but when she tries to feed Shima some of her ice cream, the old people around them start gossiping, deeming them vulgar for eating each other's cream. After Shima stops her from drawing attention, he sees a table next to them where a family is seated, and it makes him recall when he has lunch with his family, which only reminds him of his father's words. Yuzuki notices he's struggling here, so he thanks him and pushes him to go home. On the train back, she confesses that when she left her parents, she told them to assume she was dead not because she was going to die, but so that she could start a new life of happiness. After hearing her confession, Shima praises her for her impressive thought process. She suddenly falls asleep and leans on him, but she peeks at him, pretending to sleep so she can take this advantage. After they get home, Yuzuki works on her kimono in every spare time she has until she finishes, and when she presents it to Shima, he folds to her new look. While he keeps staring, she calls him out for it, causing him to blush. Suddenly, a girl with an umbrella pops up, and Shima freezes when he sees her, his little sister, Tamako, who looks like a Walmart Azula. She pulls up with Hunks carrying her baggage, and when he asks why she's here, Tamako reveals that she's here to enjoy the family villa. He tries to reject her idea, stating that it's his new home, but she tells him that he's supposed to be dead, and a dead person doesn't complain like a dog. She tells him that she might just move in, and her words stop his resistance. The juice heads show up after they finish bringing Tamako's luggage to the villa, and when she gives them a tip worth more than their low-life existence, they accept it after she convinces them. Tamako confronts Yuzuki and starts treating her like a brat due to her physique, but Yuzuki assures her that she's mature enough to get her cheeks clapped, shocking Tamako, who refuses to believe her. Shima tells Tamako to respect Yuzuki, who is older, and when Tamako confirms that she is younger, Yuzuki gets depressed for her lack of plot compared to Tamako's. She starts comforting Yuzuki while saying backhanded compliments about her non-existent jugs, and in Shima's head, Tamako is more evil than Amber Heard herself. They go inside, and while Yuzuki offers her one room, she rejects it and opts for the biggest room in the villa, claiming it as her own. Yuzuki then starts bringing in Tamako's luggage and acts like a proper host, surprising her. Then in the kitchen, Shima apologizes for Tamako's sudden arrival, but Yuzuki doesn't mind, stating that the more the merrier. It surprises Shima to hear that, and when she asks why, he explains that ever since little, Tamako, who has been the brightest of the siblings, has always been isolated in her own way, making her a total handful. Despite all that, Yuzuki still wants to be her friend, and Shima doesn't think it's possible. Tamako shows up, and when Shizuki tries to be friendly by inviting her to dinner, she tells Yuzuki to cut the crap and stop the childish antics. Shima approaches her and asks why she's here, considering the family already sees him as dead, and instead of answering his question, she tells him about how the family puts on an Oscar-level acting, pretending they care about Shima's death, just to smoothen the marriage proceedings, and it hurts Shima to hear that. It affects him so much that the next morning, Shima refuses to have breakfast with Yuzuki even after she pleads with him, and he tells her that what Tamako says to him hurts. To get his mind off it, Yuzuki asks him to take a walk with her, and when he tries to reject, she uses her wistful puppy eyes, causing him to fold and agree. Then they exit the house to walk to their destination, but on their path, Shima sees rivers, animals, and beautiful scenery all around him, which he has never seen despite living there for months. After they arrive, she shows him a grand tree that amazes him, and when he looks inside the tree, it's an Inari statue. They both are in awe of the statue, deeming it the deity that protects the mountain, like one out of a fairy tale. Shima acknowledges that it's nice to see the statue, and she tells him how happy she is that he's able to smile again after how much she wants to see this statue with him. Then they see a spring to drink from, and when Shima tries to drink as well, he struggles using his one arm, so Yuzuki offers him to drink from her hand, and while he gets nervous at first, he ends up drinking it. While he drinks, she almost makes happy noises, telling him it feels ticklish, causing them both to blush. Afterward, when they walk home, she takes his hand and tells him how much fun she had with him, asking him to come here with her again. They walk through a flower field to enjoy the refreshing wind, and here, he realizes that Yuzuki is the powerful wind who blows his darkness away. Back home, Yuzuki is making some milk caramel from scratch, and when Tamako realizes what she's making, she gets excited. Yuzuki tells her that she's very similar to her brother, Shima, in the way that they both would stand and watch her cook. Tamako asks Yuzuki why she would do all of this hassle despite her being in this situation against her will. Yuzuki tells her that she doesn't hate it as she enjoys doing things for Shima, as if her body moves by itself for him. And after hearing this, Tamako calls her a freaky weirdo. Following this, Shima is in awe of Yuzuki, who made her these caramels despite never tasting one before, so she feeds him some while putting her fingers in his mouth, and they both get flustered. Shima tells her that the caramel mixed with her finger tastes great, and Yuzuki feels happy that her efforts bear fruit. After seeing this interaction, Tamako gets angry and eats the caramel to the floor, calling them both idiots before leaving to her room. That night, Tamako can't sleep, and she recalls how her father treats her horribly and even pays a random dude to pay attention to her instead of doing it himself, and because of this, Tamako grows up cold. Wherever she goes, people gossip about her, calling her a dog no man would marry, and Tamako realizes everyone hates her. Later that night, she wakes up and gets scared by the thunder, but she remembers Yuzuki telling her that her room is next door. Just as she calls out to Yuzuki, she stops, but Yuzuki shows up anyway, asking her what's wrong. Tamako makes an excuse that she needs the bathroom, and she needs Yuzuki to come with her. On their way, she admits that she's scared of the thunder, and suddenly Zeus farts out a thunder beside them. And when Yuzuki looks at Tamako, she sees that she has pissed herself. Tamako starts tearing up out of shame, but Yuzuki quickly pulls her away to the bathroom, eats a bucket of water at her, and gets her in the tub for a bath. Yuzuki goes outside in the rain and blows fire to warm up the bathtub just for Tamako, and when Yuzuki starts coughing to the smoke, Tamako asks in tears why she would care so much for her. Then Yuzuki helps her dress up, flattering Tamako's hair, and confesses that, unlike her straight silky hair, she has weighty hair like a dog. As Tamako wonders again why Yuzuki is so nice to her, despite Tamako treating her like trash, thunder strikes again, scaring her, and Yuzuki tells her she will sleep together with her. That night, Tamako reveals it's the first time she ever sleeps alongside someone, not even her own family. Tamako admits that she had dropped out of school, disappointing her father, and it made her leave home because of her father's anger. To Yuzuki's understanding, Tamako feels lonely, but Tamako tells her that relying on people makes her weak. However, Yuzuki doesn't think the same way and states that if Tamako was her little sister, she would never be lonely with Yuzuki around. Tamako refuses to believe her words, stating she would hate being her big sister. But Yuzuki assures her that she wouldn't mind, and that it would make her happy to be someone's big sister. A thunder strikes again, and Yuzuki comforts Tamako, whispering into her ear that it's the spring thunder that will bring spring to them. Yuzuki starts singing her song, and Tamako feels comfort, causing her to sleep. The next morning, Shima is in shock and wonders which god he pissed off after seeing the two girls making snacks like they are friends. Then they finish making the snack, and when Tamako eats it with a smile, Shima thinks to himself that Tamako looks happy. Yuzuki tries offering him the snack, but Tamako pulls the plate away and kicks him out, stating that pickles are not allowed while maidens are eating snacks, and Shima sits down, wondering what just happened. Months later, Shima is in his room looking at textbooks that remind him of his school days and realizes that those days will never come back due to his injury. Meanwhile, Yuzuki and Tamako are next door fangirling about the artist Kotori. While Tamako is cosplaying as her, she asks Yuzuki to do the same, but after she takes off her hair braids, her hair gets all fluffy, and Tamako thinks that it's cute. Shima walks in, trying to join the fun, but Tamako intercepts him and tells him no sausage dwellers are allowed. Then Yuzuki starts doing her chores around the house, and she finds Shima outside, reading a book. While it has been half a year since they started living together, Shima recalls the promise she made to love him and begins to wonder if she has fallen in love with him yet. As Yuzuki tries to get up, she collapses on Shima. She starts panicking out of shame, but he tells her that she can stay like this if she wants, stating he can support her despite being a cripple. Yuzuki folds and takes her chance to lean on his body, causing Shima to try his best not to scream. An hour later, Yuzuki feels better already and thanks him for the comfort, but Shima wonders if she's really okay. Yuzuki suddenly collapses and Shima is unable to lift her up, but when Tamako spots her on the floor, she quickly picks her up. Shima tries to offer for him to carry her, but Tamako rejects his offer, stating that his one hand is not enough to carry her. So he offers his room, which is closer, and Tamako brings Yuzuki in and lays her on the futon. Tamako sees Yuzuki suffocating to her own belt and tells Shima to turn around, but when he doesn't, Tamako screams at him, forcing him to turn around. After she takes it off, Yuzuki wakes up and starts saying Shima's name. She tells the siblings that lunch is in the kitchen, and in his head, Shima is confused about why she still cares about their sake despite her bad health. Tamako informs them that she's going away to get a doctor, and when Shima asks what he needs to do, Tamako tells him to try his best despite his disability and compress Yuzuki's head. While what Tamako said was cruel, he understands her intention since he's not good with strangers. With only his weaker left arm available, Shima fights his best to get water from the well. However, he drops it due to his limited strength, and after Tamako brings the doctor to Yuzuki, she spots Shima and tells him she will handle it, leaving him frustrated with himself. Hours later, it starts raining and the doctor finishes mending Yuzuki, but when Shima meets the doctor, he tries thanking him and giving him money. However, the doctor scolds him and his well-known family for being prideful, stating that they overwork Yuzuki, causing her to overheat her body due to her job as a servant. Shima tries saying that Yuzuki is his wife, but the doctor interrupts him, telling Shima that despite Yuzuki being his wife, she was also bought to pay her family's debt and forced to live alone in the mountain alone with a man. The doctor informs him how his sister, Tamako, is being gossiped about by the whole town for treating everyone like a servant to her arrogant family, thinking that money can just solve everything. The doctor hits Shima with a reality check that money can't fix everything, including his dead arm. Tamako suddenly shows up with a million aura and tells the doctors to get out or eat dirt. After they leave, Tamako reveals the truth about where she got lost at the station and where the people offered her a ride, which she accepted, and she showed them her appreciation for the help. She tells Shima that there's nothing shameful about him or Yuzuki as his wife. Shima realizes how cruel he has been to overwork his wife and deems it his fault, but Tamako tells him she's also at fault for showing up and adding weight to Yuzuki's workload. She tells him that she will take care of Yuzuki, and Shima thinks to himself that if Tamako wasn't here in the first place, Yuzuki, a girl sold to him to pay debts, would have been clapped from life to chill with Lelouch in hell. Later, when Tamako comes to Yuzuki, wanting to wash her, she finds that Yuzuki already changed her clothes, and it makes Tamako worry that Yuzuki's doing too much. Yuzuki asks about Shima and his well-being, but instead of answering, Tamako asks her if she's really happy with Shima, who's as useless as Sakura, even suggesting Yuzuki marries someone else. However, Yuzuki rejects her suggestion, stating she's scared that Shima will end up alone again, and it surprises Tamako. Yuzuki reveals that she once had a friend who was down and depressed like Shima who wanted to die, and when Yuzuki asked her mother what to do to help, she told Yuzuki that she had to stay by her friend's side while believing that one day her friend will turn towards happiness. With someone like Yuzuki in his corner, Yuzuki believes that Shima will one day believe that he can change for the better through his own will. It surprises Tamako how much Yuzuki thinks about Shima, and she tells Tamako that Shima will one day be her husband, and saying this causes her to burn up with fever. That night, while Tamako is in the bath, she remembers how she helped Yuzuki and realizes how her own body moved on its own. Meanwhile, Shima is haunted by her words that make him feel useless, so he goes to check on Yuzuri, but once he's inside, he sees Yuzuri suffocating with blood on her non-existent jugs. She starts begging Tamako to take off her bandage, not knowing it's Shima in front of her. But when he touches the bandage, it surprises him with how tight it is. He gets a scissors, cuts the bandage, and gets greeted by a surprised massive sweet twin puddings. While he's freaking out, Yuzuki opens her eyes, thanking Tamako, but gets shocked to see that it was Shima who helped her. He realizes this is her second insecurity aside from her hair, and Yuzuki starts saying out her worries and how her massive jugs make her look like a fat midget One Piece character. Suddenly, Shima apologizes for first making her sick, and now embarrassing her, failing as a husband who can support her. Realizing he won't be the first to clap her cheeks, he asks her to break up with him and go home so she can truly be happy. But Yuzuki comforts him and assures him that she's not leaving as she wants to be by his side. He folds and thinks to himself how strong and amazing she is. The next morning, Yuzuki wakes him up, feeling better than ever, and despite him pleading with her to rest more, she assures him that she's as healthy as a horse. She pulls him up for breakfast, and he suddenly feels in that moment that his brain and soul are telling him to be a man who will make Yuzuki happy. At breakfast, while he tries to cope and convince himself that he is still a pessimistic little brat, Tamako announces that she will go home tomorrow and informs them that she now wants to be a doctor. Then Shima and Yuzuki follow Tamako to her room, and when Shima asks how she plans to become a doctor, Tamako explains that she has already called her uncle who owns a clinic, and he tells her to come by any time to start working. While Tamako is packing her bags, Shima tries to convince her to change her mind, only to fail, and Yuzuki asks Tamako, who she considers to be her own sister, why she suddenly wants to become a doctor. Tamako explains that for the longest time during her life, she always thought that people were worthless, but that changed when she saw Yuzuki get sick, causing Tamako's body to move on its own to help her. However, she wasn't able to cure her, which frustrated her, and because of this, she wants to be a doctor and become someone who helps other people, despite being from a well-known arrogant family. After Tamako finishes packing her stuff, Shima sits down beside her and thanks her, which she frowns upon. He thanks her for helping Yuzuki and for coming to this house, which to Shima is an unexpectedly pleasant visit. Just then, Yuzuki pops up carrying 3 futons and tells the others they should all sleep together for Tamako's last night, surprising the siblings. Then, as they sleep together with Shima on the sidelines alone, Yuzuki starts singing a lullaby. Meanwhile, in his mind, Shima understands Tamako's feelings and how anxious she feels to live in loneliness. Wanting to ease her mind, he remembers what Yuzuki did to him and does the same to Tamako by caressing her head while saying how she's going to be an outstanding doctor and how he regrets not having this close relationship with her sooner. The next day, the couple sees Tamako off at the station, and Yuzuki gives her a lunchbox for her journey before tearing up, wishing Tamako the best. Tamako then calls up Shima and starts scolding him, telling him to go easy whenever he wants to clap Yuzuki, and that he should try to be the best husband he can. She also tells him to give her head pats when she's not asleep, and it shocks Shima to know she was awake the whole time. Then, as the train leaves, Tamako opens the box and finds various cookies inside, alongside a letter from Yuzuki wishing her luck. Inside is also a book about human anatomy from her brother, Shima, and Tamako thinks to herself that those two are people who changed her life for the better, and she thanks them from the heart. Months after Tamako's departure, it gets Shima to start thinking about his future after his sister wants to become a doctor, despite being seen as dead. While he's writing, a cat pops in, followed by Yuzuki who brings in some tea. The clock hits 9 and Yuzuki informs Shima that she needs to go shopping in the village's market, and this makes Shima remember what the doctor told him about overworking Yuzuki. At the village, while Yuzuki walks past, the people there gossip about her being Shima's personal pleasure toy, showing their sympathy for her. As she buys vegetables from a vendor, Shima shows up with a worried expression and covers it up by saying he's here to get some books. He asks her to let him carry her basket, and she gladly accepts his offer. He realizes that people are gossiping about Yuzuki, and he deems it as his fault, but when he looks at her, he sees her grinning happily. He asks her why she's happy, and she tells him how she wanted to shop with him again since their Tokyo journey. With Yuzuki happy, they continue shopping, trying things out, and discovering different vendors. But when they get to a notebook seller, she takes 2 notepads, one for her old friend Midori, and one for Tamako. She looks to the side and sees a bookseller, and when Shima gets his eyes on them, he starts creaming to the book selections that are being sold. Yuzuki notices that Shima really loves books, and he reveals that ever since he was little, while his family treats him like bird poop, the books keep him company. After they get home, Yuzuki cooks up a Michelin star-level food, and when Shima asks what's the occasion, she tells him that it's his birthday, which he forgot about. She gives him a bellflower bookmark that she bought for him because he loves to read, and he starts crying as this is his first ever birthday gift. She wishes him a happy birthday, and it triggers his memory when he was always alone on his birthdays. But this time, Yuzuki shows up for him, causing him to cry tears of joy, and he hugs her. While she is tweaking out of love, he refuses to let go, thanking her for giving him a memory to treasure forever. They look at each other, and before they start kissing, a glass breaks, stopping them from a birthday special clapping. Shima goes away to check it out, and they both are tweaking their cheeks of what they both almost did. He goes to check his room for the sound, and instead of the cat, he finds a girl waiting for him, eating his Yuzuki-made candies. He asks who she is, but instead of answering, she says that she's from the village, and it scares him how calm she is. She pulls out one of the 50 Shades books he had on his table, calling him a degenerate, and even exposes that he has the full series, causing him to panic. While she does think of him as a horn dog, she offers her own body for his pleasure to replace the books, and while he is slowly folding, she starts laughing, telling him she isn't serious. Then she jumps out the window and says her goodbyes, but when Yuzuki appears, asking what's going on, he doesn't tell her that a girl was just here to clap him. He covers up by saying he can't wait to use the bookmark, but when he is looking for it, it's gone, and he realizes that the girl stole it from him. He goes to chase her, refusing for Yuzuki's gift to be taken away from him, while Yuzuki is still in his room, wondering why it smells like a woman. In his pursuit, Shima spots the girl entering a house and listens in where the girl's father congratulates her for successfully stealing from the well-known rich Shima, telling her to show him what she stole. However, the girl is furious at his father for sending his own daughter to do this kind of job, calling him out for being a lousy drunk of a parent. The man slaps his own daughter and gets into a fight with her as she's trying to get his hands away from the money so she can feed her brothers. Meanwhile, Shima is outside, and he's having a panic attack as what's happening in the house reminds him of his own father. After he gets back home, Yuzuki greets him and tries to cheer him up, but with what I've just seen, Shima is shaken and goes to bed. As he struggles to sleep, Shima takes what happened today as a sign that his birthday will always be a bad day. The next morning while they have breakfast, Yuzuki tries to invite Shima to go with her again to the Inari shrine, but he rejects her invitation, stating that he has business to deal with. Then Shima goes back to the thief's house to get Yuzuri's present back, and while at first he's scared to meet the father, he gathers the bravery to knock on the door. However, no one answers, but he hears a voice around the corner of the house, and when he goes to investigate, he finds the girl bathing, causing him to panic first, and the girl after. After dressing up, Shima tries to apologize to her, but she asks him for money in exchange for him seeing her limited edition jugs. He tells her that she got his wallet, and she realizes that she messed up by stealing from him, thinking that this wimpy rich brat would have just cried to mommy's jugs instead of coming here. She then asks if he wants his wallet back, but he tells her that he wants the bellflower bookmark back. Suddenly, one of the girl's brothers shows up, asking her to teach him, but she doesn't have that kind of IQ as she can barely remember her ABCs. She looks at Shima and tells her brother that this rich dude will gladly teach him, and when Shima tries to decline, the girl pulls up the bookmark, signaling to him that he has no other choice but to teach her brothers. Then he starts teaching these brats, all for the bookmark, and when the girl asks him why he wants the bookmark so badly, he tells her how it was an irreplaceable gift from the girl who was soon to be his wife. The girl remembers when she saw them in the village, and their relationship interests her. After a few hours of teaching, the brothers are proud of their progress in studying, and they show Shima how amazing they are while crowding him. Every time Shima praises their work, they feel very happy and ask him to judge their grades more. Afterward, Shima is about to go home when the brothers thank him as their teacher, and Shima blushes hearing that. Suddenly, the father returns drunk, and the girl tells Shima to go around the back, promising him that she will return the bookmark later. However, he never gets it back and doesn't know how to face Yuzuri, but after he gets home, she greets him warmly, and because he feels guilty, he goes straight to bed out of shame. The next morning, Shima doesn't sleep through the night, but the thief screams out his name, and when he runs to meet her, Yuzuki is there with her. She starts insulting Yuzuki, calling her and her body unsatisfactory enough to the great Shima. Shima defends Yuzuki, saying that her monies fill up his soul more than the jumbos. However, the thief starts yapping lies, saying how every time Shima leaves home, he is with her, clapping her all day, screaming out her name, and making happy noises while leaving poor Yuzuki alone at home. Just as Shima tries to defend himself, the thief pulls out the bookmark, which breaks Yuzuki's fragile heart. Shima tries to take it back from her, calling her a liar, but she tells him she will do it if he makes her his mistress so she can live a rich life. The bookmark falls on Yuzuki's feet, and when she takes it, Shima tries to convince her that everything the thief said was a lie. With a smile on her face, Yuzuki states that she believes him, but still, she rips up the bookmark to pieces, saying that they should end this drama here. Shima tries to comfort her, but with tears in her eyes, Yuzuki walks away. Shima falls to his knees, and while the thief can't keep her filthy mouth shut, Shima tells her with a cold tone to leave, and as she's leaving, the thief thinks to herself that Yuzuki is way too happy as someone who was bought. Afterward, Shima gathers the ripped bookmark, planning to do something with it, but Yuzuki shows up, inviting him for breakfast, and it confuses him why she's back to normal. During the day, Yuzuki is back to her happy self, and Shima wonders if she's really over what happened the other day, especially after she ripped up the bookmark. Suddenly, the phone rings, and after Yuzuki answers, she tells Shima that it's Tamako who wants to speak to him. On the phone, Tamako joyously tells him how she is now enrolled in an all-girls school and made plenty of friends. She tells him how those friends enjoyed Yuzuki's baked goods so much that they asked Tamako to bake more with them, but suddenly, she starts tweaking after remembering what she wanted to talk about in the first place. While embarrassed, Tamako wishes Shima happy birthday, which pleases him, and she asks him if Yuzuki celebrated it with him. Shima makes a sad noise, and when Tamako catches it, she asks him what happened and tells him to not lie. After he tells Tamako everything, she asks him if he knows why Yuzuki chose bellflowers specifically, and when Shima expresses that he doesn't, Tamako explains that girls use flower language to express their feelings, and bellflower resembles unchanged love. Shima is shocked hearing this, and Tamako adds that the flower basically tells Shima that Yuzuki's love is eternal. but for it to end up in another woman's hand is a despicable heartbreak for anyone in Yuzuki's position. Shima is shaken to his core after hearing what Tamako told him and goes back to his room for the ripped bellflower, thinking that giving him eternal love is exactly something Yuzuki would do. As he looks at the shredded flower, he sees Yuzuki wishing a happy birthday, as if it's Yuzuki's heart torn to pieces. With determination on his face, Shima gets to work despite only having one arm. That night, when Yuzuki tries to invite him for dinner, she walks in on Shima asleep, but on his desk, she sees his attempt at putting the flower back together. Then Shima wakes up and gets shocked seeing Yuzuki beside him. She tries to convince him to let the flower go, but he tells her that he knows what the flower means to her love, and he doesn't care what form it takes as long as the sentiment stays the same. Yuzuki blushes and apologizes to him. While Shima tries to tell Yuzuki she did nothing wrong, she tells him that he should have told her the truth sooner, as she thought he was avoiding her when she skipped dinner with her, making her feel lonely. Shima realizes how much of an idiotic goof he is and apologizes, but using her riz, Yuzuki agrees and tells him that he shouldn't get chummy with other pretty girls when he has a baddie like her by his side. She starts pummeling him, and Shima lets him do it until she's satisfied. The next morning, he finishes fixing the flower, and Yuzuki is happy that it smells like him before adding that the bellflower resembles him in another way, and that is integrity. The next day, while Shima and Yuzuki are being lovey-dovey with each other, they hear a noise from the bush, and from it out comes the thief's brothers. They ask him to teach them again, using puppy eyes to convince him, and when he agrees, other kids pop up out of nowhere, adding his students. Then he explains to Yuzuki how he helped them study the other day, and the students call him teacher. But Shima asks them to not call him that as he feels unworthy, so they choose to call him Rich Daddy. Yuzuki sets up a table for them to start, and Shima teaches every single one of them. When the students praise Shima as rich, handsome, and smart, Shima gets flustered, and Yuzuki is happy seeing this. Days later, the students multiply, and when Shima wonders why this happens, the students tell him that it's because he's an amazing teacher who teaches without getting angry once, causing him to blush and get fun for folding. It amazes Yuzuki how these kids love Shima so much, making her fall in love with him all over again. But the thief shows up suddenly behind her bringing food, shocking Yuzuki and Shima. While they wonder why she's here, she pulls Yuzuki away to the kitchen to make lunch, and when Shima tries to save Yuzuki, the students pull him back like parasites. In the kitchen, Yuzuki is working hard, stepping on the udon, and the thief introduces herself as Ryo. She tells Yuzuki that she likes Shima, which shocks her, and she also likes Yuzuki, which confuses her. Ryo explains that when she saw Yuzuki rip the flower as if saying to Ryo that her love for Shima will never falter, Ryo changes her opinion of Yuzuki from Shima's toy to an actual interesting person. And it's here where Ryo started liking her. She offers Yuzuki that they take turns on Shima and Yuzuki, while blushing, declines her plotful offer. An hour later, the girls bring out the food for the students to eat, and when Shima asks Yuzuki if she's okay, she tells him that Ryo is an amazing big sister to these kids, and as they eat, Ryo encourages them to eat more as they don't get the chance to eat like this often. Afterward, as they all go home, Ryo wants to ask Yuzuki what happiness feels like despite her being bought, but before she gets an answer, her brother pops up, pushing Yuzuki to go home. Inside, Yuzuki tells Shima that the students' rapid progress is the result of Shima's teaching ability, and because of this, Shima goes out at night and writes a letter to his father, asking to go back to school. Months later, while Yuzuki is cleaning, Shima offers to help, and despite her objection, he convinces her, stating that with his help, things will go faster. So they clean together, side by side, like a couple, and at night, Shima falls asleep in the living room. Suddenly, he almost falls to the fire if it weren't for Yuzuki saving him, and when he tries to get up, she tells him to continue sleeping, crediting him for the good job. Then Shima wakes up after oversleeping, looking for Yuzuki, and when he finds her, she is singing alone in the cold, so Shima covers her with his blanket. They enjoy each other's warmth, and Yuzuki tells him that it's her birthday today, and she feels ready to be his wife. However, Shima tells her that he can't marry after his experience with his horrible family stopping him from knowing what a happy family is like. He feels himself unworthy of someone like her as all he has is his useless right hand, making him a burden to her. He desires to be alone and die, not being able to make her happy, but he does want to change. He informs Yuzuki that he wants to go back to school and already asked his father about it, hence why he can't marry her for now. She tells him that for the past year, she has enjoyed watching him eat her food and spend his time with her, and now she wants to continue by his side forever. She asks if he feels the same way, but instead of answering, he kisses her, making both of them fold to how plump and juicy their lips are. The next day, Shima has just finished another study session with his students, but when he gets back inside, he finds Ryo's little brother, Ryotaro. He thanks Shima for everything, and Shima asks if he's leaving, to which he answers yes. Ryotaro tells him that he has been hired to work somewhere in Tokyo, but after Shima doesn't give any reaction, he runs away, saying his farewells. Later that night, Shima vents to Yuzuki about how when he was Ryotaro's age, he didn't live life as tough as his, making him unable to comfort Ryotaro. Suddenly, Ryo pops up at the door and starts crying, telling them that Ryotaro has gone missing. They split up to find him, and during her search, Ryo drops to her knees, hoping that her brother who has always protected her from their father will be okay. Meanwhile, Yuzuki screams out for Shima, and when he arrives, she finds Ryotaro asleep in their storage room. After waking up, Ryotaro cries, telling Shima that he doesn't want to go to Tokyo, which will make him stay there forever, away from his family. However, Shima assures him that from his experience back home, workers can come back to their homes and even invite their family if they work hard. Ryotaro imagines taking his family to Tokyo and gets excited about his future. Ryo pops up, eats Shima, and hugs Ryotaro to comfort him, but when she looks back, she sees the couple near clapping after she pushes Shima away. Then, Ryo asks Ryotaro if he doesn't want to be a hired man, and he assures her that he does, stating he will be fine after hearing what Shima tells him. The next day, they see him off at the station, and Yuzuki gives him her caramel cookies for the trip. But before he leaves, Ryotaro hugs his sister one more time, promising that he will show them around in Tokyo one day. He then bows to Shima, thanking him for being a great teacher, and Shima blushes hearing Ryotaro calling him teacher. Then Ryotaro boards the train and his family waves him goodbye. Ryo tells Shima how happy Ryotaro is to have him as his father figure, and he feels happy to hear that. Days later, Shima writes another letter to his father, asking him permission for him to go to school, but still, he gets no answer. The mailman arrives with letters, and while Shima is excited to hear from his father, Yuzuki tells him that there's no letter from his father, but there is one from his uncle. The uncle informs him that Tamako has been brilliant in her studies as a doctor. But he also hears news from Tamako, who informs him that Shima wants to go back to school and is worried about his father's opinion. Because of this, the uncle offers Shima his support for him to go back to school, and Shima calls him back in tears, saying that he accepts his offer and will one day repay his kindness. Then Shima starts studying hard, aiming to get back on track to the days before he was a shut-in loser, so he can finally become a man that is worthy of Yuzuki. Suddenly, Ryo pops up, and she wants to show her support for Shima in other ways involving a hole and a pickle. But Yuzuki tells her to stay away. One day, Yuzuki receives news from the newspaper that Kotori Shiratori, the idol, is coming here, and Shima suggests that they should see her. They go to the station, and there Kotori sings P, Diddy's greatest hit, the acoustic version which allures Shima's emotions. After she finishes performing, she uses her riz and folds everyone in the audience. Kotori then starts singing anime openings, and Shima tells Yuzuki that he's glad they get to see this. Then Shima continues his study for the test for weeks, and after he finishes the test, he informs Tamako and his uncle that he passed it and will be back to school. On his first day of school, just as Yuzuki wants to see him off, he recalls his past traumatic events, from the accident to how his father wants him dead. However, he now wants to change for the better, and after he gets to school, he is introduced to a fellow transfer student, Hikaru Shiratori. The students recognize him as Kotori's brother and start glazing him. But when it's Shima's turn to introduce himself, the students recognize him as someone who comes from his family, well known to be jerkbags. Then, during gym class, Shima struggles to change his clothes due to his arm, and because of him, the whole class gets punished and has to run for an hour. At lunch, while the other students invite Hikaru to eat together, Shima opens his lunchbox made by Yuzuki and eats it alone with tears in his eyes. During art class, they are tasked to draw someone special to them, and Hikaru asks to sit beside Shima. But when he sees Shima's drawing of Yuzuki, he starts laughing but tries to cover it up. Shima asks to see his drawing, and while Hikaru thinks he's Picasso, his drawing of Kotori looks like a bird shat on his drawing paper. The two start debating on who has the better drawing, but the teacher scolds them for being noisy, and when he sees their drawing, he wants to bleach his eyeballs for the blasphemy he just laid his eyes on. After school, Yuzuki greets Shima back home, but behind him is Hikaru, and before he gets to introduce himself, Yuzuki gets excited to see Shima making a friend. They explain to her that the teacher gave them homework of drawing each other, and after Yuzuki leaves them to do their work, Hikaru states how adorable Yuzuki is, and Shima unknowingly agrees to his every word, even adding how much he loves her. He suddenly realizes how embarrassing he looks and walks off to the kitchen to get more tea. There, Yuzuki asks him about his day at school, and Shima lies to her, saying how school was amazing, and how Michael Jackson came back to life to perform there, and he made plenty of friends. Yuzuki is very happy to hear that, and while in his mind, Shima is apologizing to Yuzuki for the lies, Hikaru hears everything he said, knowing he lied. After they finish the drawing, it still looks like Stephen Hawking drew it, but instead of hating it, Hikaru tells Shima that he likes it, stating that he looks like Caitlyn Jenner before the surgery. Hikaru admits that he heard about Shima's lie to Yuzuri, and Shima, while embarrassed, admits that he did it to make her happy. He wants to tell the truth, but Hikaru stops him and says that he should just turn those lies into truth by actually making friends and having fun at school. Then they have dinner together, and Hikaru is so happy to be Shima's friend and to be able to eat food this good. Shima is flustered to hear him being called someone's friend, and when he sees how happy Yuzuki is, he feels conflicted. The next day, Hikaru comes again, but this time he brings his twin sister, Kotori, causing Yuzuki to almost cream all over the floor. While Yuzuki can't believe that Kotori and Hikaru are twins, Kotori asks Yuzuki to help her understand what love is. Then she explains that she's writing for a magazine about love, but she's having issues with people's love questions. After hearing from Hikaru about Yuzuki and Shima's love from Hikaru, Kotori comes straight here to talk to them. Kotori begs Yuzuki to help her, saying that she wants to help other girls who are in love trouble, and while Kotori admits that she doesn't know how to help them, she believes that her music can. Kotori believes that her music can touch the hearts of people who are in love, and after hearing her sing earlier, Shima believes her. Then Yuzuki presents Kotori with a room for her to finish her song, and when Kotori asks Hikaru for his opinion, he just responds blandly with a long face. During the time Kotori lives with them, she keeps stalking them and their lovey-dovey relationship, hoping to even catch them clapping cheeks to inspire her song, but then the students show up to study, and when Kotori pops up in front of them, they fangirl worse than the BTS army. Shima walks in, and after seeing the kids surrounding Kotori, he announces that Kotori will be teaching them today. She starts teaching them how to sing, and while the kids are singing with her, it reminds her of her and Hikaru singing, which makes her sad. The next day at school, Hikaru walks in with other students, but one of them forgets to bring his pencil case, and Hikaru starts teasing Shima, luring him to take the chance and make friends. Shima offers one of his pencils, and when the student accepts it, Shima is surprised. Suddenly, Hikaru pulls out the 13th century version of Playboy magazine, claiming that Shima lent it to him, and the class erupts, praising Shima as the degenerate MVP. On their way home, Shima reports to Hikaru that Kotori has been doing great and the kids love her, but she is also struggling with her songwriting. He asks Hikaru if he wants to stop by and make her sister happy, but Hikaru declines and asks Shima to send his regards to Kotori instead. Meanwhile, Kotori is stuck in her writing and begs Yuzuki to tell her how she met Shima. Yuzuki confesses that at first she was nervous, but it quickly turns into something else where she feels perplexed emotions and uncertainty. Suddenly, an emotion rises inside her whenever she sees Shima's Giga Chad face alongside his awkward kindness, a powerful feeling she can't hold back. Kotori asks if that is love where Yuzuki always has Shima in her mind, and after Yuzuki nods in agreement, Kotori tells her that it's the same feeling she feels about her music, and because of this, Kotori has an idea. She states that she wants to combine her music with Yuzuki's feelings, believing that a great song is hidden in there, and she thanks Yuzuki for teaching her about love. Yuzuki can't wait for Kotori's new love song, stating that no one lives music more than she does, but Kotori disagrees and tells her that Hikaru was the person who loved music before her, which confuses Yuzuki. Later, Shima tells Yuzuki that he feels that Hikaru has been avoiding Kotori, and Yuzuki agrees and tells Shima about how Hikaru loved music before Kotori ever did, and this makes Shima think. The next day, while Shima is having lunch with Hikaru, He asks him if something happened between him and Kotori. While Hikaru is taken aback by his question, he tells Shima his backstory. He states that he was the first of the siblings to get into music, and not soon after, Kotori starts singing alongside him. But one day, Hikaru gets an extreme illness that will take years to heal, so he gives his guitar to Kotori and promises they will sing together one day. However, it takes Hikaru 7 years to get healthy, and by that point, Kotori has become a singer on the level of pre-surgery Michael Jackson. When she asks him about his promise, he can't do anything about it, thinking that it's too far for him to catch up to her. Shima tells him that he knows what it feels like, as he was once a lonely, edgy, depressed loser who wanted to clap himself to death after losing his right arm. But when Yuzuki comes into his life, she opens his heart, shining a light for him to start believing again, to take another step, and because of her, he now has more people precious to him, including Hikaru. After hearing what he said, Hikaru calls Shima amazing and realizes that Kotori is also waiting for him to open his heart. Days later, the people gather to see Kotori debuting her new song, but suddenly, Hikaru comes out with a guitar, surprising Kotori, and he asks to sing them one song before Kotori performs. He starts singing one of Kotori's songs, and hearing this brings Kotori back to when she was a lonely singer. But this time, Hikaru appears beside her, and they sing together, causing her to cry. Kotori jumps in and makes the performance a duet between siblings, making the crowd go wild. She can't believe that he knows her song, and Hikaru tells her that it's one of his favorites, which makes her smile a genuine smile. Kotori now sings her debut song titled When a Stick Meets a Hole, and as she is singing, the crowd, including Yuzuki and Shima, feels the magic in her voice. Later on their way home, Shima rides a bike with Yuzuki behind him, and while she wants to tell him how much she loves him, she gets nervous and asks him to teach her how to ride a bike so she can go everywhere with him. However, he tells her that he will just take her everywhere that she wants forever, and while blushing redder than a tomato, Yuzuki hugs him and accepts his offer. Months later, summer break starts, and Shima writes a letter to his uncle, reporting about his now living conditions where friends come over and students learn under him. But Shima ends the letter by inviting the uncle and Tamako to visit. He walks on to Yuzuki reading a letter, and he knows it's from her friend Midori, and when Yuzuki asks how he knows, he tells her that her eyes sparkle whenever Yuzuki reads Midori's letters. As she continues reading Midori's letter, she suddenly starts glitching, and when Shima asks her what's wrong, she informs Shima that Midori got clapped hard by a news reporter and is now pregnant while waiting for marriage. Despite her initial reaction, Yuzuki is happy for Midori and wishes her the best, stating that she could have never made a better friend than her. With Midori moving far away to be with her baby daddy, she asks Yuzuki to meet up, and when Shima suggests that she should, Yuzuki starts panicking. She asks if Shima will be okay without her around, worrying that he can't take care of himself, and Shima assures her that he will be okay, telling her that her presence will help Midori during her childbirth and give her peace of mind. He has an idea and takes Yuzuki to a shrine dedicated to a god that eases childbirth. After they finish praying there, Yuzuki asks that they come here again after they have their own baby, causing him to blush and run away, buying her a charm for Midori. The next day, Shima sees Yuzuki off at the station, and he struggles to compliment her new drip. She tells him that Ryo will take over cooking for the time being, stating that she doesn't want Shima to starve and eat from the dumpster. When Yuzuki asked Ryo a day before, Ryo thought that Yuzuki hated her for what she did. But Yuzuki told her that she didn't hate her, stating she had an older sister once who got dipped from life, and seeing how much of a great sister Ryo is warms Yuzuki's heart, making her think that her sister would have been like Ryo if she was alive. Ryo accepts her request and teases Yuzuki, saying that she might just clap Shima and be his real wife, causing Yuzuki to panic. Then, as the train is about to leave, she holds his hand and tells him she will miss him, to which he feels the same way. She closes her eyes, asking for a kiss, and just as Shima is about to kiss her back, he stops halfway and opts to caress her head instead, saying that she can kiss him as much as she wants after she gets home. Then, the train leaves with Yuzuki in it, and it takes Yuzuki to her destination. After arriving, Midori screams her name, and they hug, refusing to believe that they hang out in a cafe and talk about their men, where Midori informs Yuzuki that after she got clapped, which resulted in a baby inside her, her baby daddy goes to apologize to her relatives, promising he will make Midori a happy woman. Midori asks her about Shima, and Yuzuki starts glazing Shima, and his handsome Squidward face, stating that he's the man of her dreams. She gives Midori the charm, crediting Shima for the gift, and Midori thanks her and Shima for being kind. Then they stay at an apartment together, and while seeing the beautiful scenery, they sing Candy Shop by 50 Cent together. They spend a couple of girls having fun, and at night Midori asks Yuzuki if she's going to get married. Yuzuki tells her that Shima is not ready and that she will always be by his side even if he doesn't want to get married. But she also tells Midori that she wants to get clapped and have children of her own with Shima. With a smile on her face, Midori tells her that she is actually ready to take Yuzuki along with her, worried that Shima is an abusive man, but after seeing what Yuzuki says about him, she feels relieved to see her friend happy. The next morning, Midori expresses how glad she is to get to meet her best friend before getting married, reminiscing their past of how they used to talk about marriages and men, but now she can feel relieved to see Yuzuki happy with her man, while she is happy with hers. Back home, while Shima is having lunch with Ryo and her brothers, she teases him about being eager to see Yuzuki, and instead of denying it, he acknowledges it, stating that he can't wait to welcome her back home later. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, causing them to panic, and on the 12th of September 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake strikes. They go outside to a destroyed house and the people cry for their grandpa, and when Shima tries to help, the villager tells him to leave it to him. As he looks around, all he sees is the destruction of a once beautiful tiny village, and it brings him to think about what would happen in Tokyo where Yuzuki is located. He thinks of the worst and his face turns blue as he walks back home, and there he's on the floor, feeling guilty for encouraging Yuzuki to go to Tokyo. His mind starts to fill up with awful thoughts of losing Yuzuki, and he doesn't want to be alone again, but suddenly something falls in Yuzuki's room. He goes inside to find the cat there, and also a letter from Yuzuki. In the letter, Yuzuki wishes him a happy birthday and also a gift from her in the form of a scarf and gloves, handmade by Yuzuki, who wants to keep him warm. She reveals that she made one for herself and tells him she wants them to wear it together while riding a bike like a couple. With the scarf in his hand, he feels her presence that warms him, and after eating her caramel, he remembers how she told him that she would always be by his side. It encourages him to remember Yuzuki as a strong spring storm that doesn't fall easily despite the earthquakes. He realizes how much of a wimpy loser he is for always getting pessimistic at first, but now he refuses to give up and still wants to make her happy as the man who loves her. With full preparation, he goes out to Tokyo, wanting to find Yuzuki and bring her back to him. On his walk, he meets Ryo and the students, and she begs him to let her come with him as she is also worried about Ryotaro in Tokyo. While Shima worries about the kids, they assure him that they will be fine as they prioritize Ryotaro's safety. They tell him about how the village is completely ruined, where people are without homes, and it gives him an idea. He tells his students to evacuate everyone without a home to his house where they can find food and medicine available, and if they promise to do that, he will take Ryo along with him to Tokyo. With a fighting spirit, they promise that they will and wish him luck in bringing Yuzuki back home. During their walk, Shima warns Ryo that they have to walk all the way to Tokyo, but she assures him that she will walk as far as it takes for her brother. Then they rest up in a shrine, and it surprises Ryo that a rich brat like Shima is able to sleep somewhere rough, but he tells her that he's able to do this only because of his love for Yuzuki. He gives her a rice ball he made, and after the first bite, she tells him it tastes like unwashed cheeks. The next morning, they reach an even more destroyed village, and a local tells them that in Tokyo, the condition is even worse, looking like it's hell on earth. They continue their journey, and Shima confesses how scared he is every time he hears about the condition in Tokyo, not wanting to lose the person he loves the most, and it reminds Ryo about Yuzuki, who sees her as a big sister. And she tells Shima that she also wants to show Yuzuki what a great sister she is to her. That night, they reach Tokyo, which is all destroyed with only the station standing and acting as shelter. Shima goes around, screaming out Yuzuki's name. But from behind, Tamako shows up, and after seeing her, Shima collapses. He wakes up later to his uncle, Manabe, who is there to help the wounded. Manabe tries to convince Shima to rest, telling him that finding Yuzuki is difficult at this time, but Shima tells him that the reason he's here is because he believes he will find her. Manabe is taken aback by Shima's stare, and he praises Shima, telling him that his stare has changed from what was desperation to now hopeful, and it's because he met Yuzuki. He says that he wants to meet her one day and wishes Shima luck on his search. Just as Shima and Ryo are about to head out, Tamako comes running and asks to come with them, stating that she's also worried about Yuzuki. Then Rio splits up to find her brother, and as they continue looking, Shima and Tamako find themselves in front of the names of the people who are missing. They put their own poster for Yuzuki and continue searching for hours, jumping from one place to the next, but they walk into people talking about burned and drowned corpses. Shima stops in his tracks and tells himself that if Yuzuki dies, he will yeet himself and die too, but Tamako emotionally assures him that Yuzuki won't leave them and die that easily. She starts crying about how much she wants to desperately see Yuzuki, and Shima clams her down and pats her head, which she feels comfort from. Tamako holds his hand as they go back to the shelter, but in their path, they see a girl about to fly off the bridge, so they hurry and stop her. The girl tells them that she was praying with a charm on her hand, and after Shima sees the charm, he realizes that it's Midori. They can't believe they get to meet each other like this, but when Shima asks her about Yuzuki, Midori releases a painful look. She reveals that she got separated in the crowd while they were avoiding the fire, and she lost consciousness in the process, only to wake up in the shelter. Midori apologizes as she feels guilty for wanting to meet Yuzuki here, but Shima tells her to not feel that way as Yuzuki also wants to see her. He tells Tamako to take care of Midori as he will continue his search for Yuzuki. Shima starts running from one post to the next, but in one of the posts, a corpse has Yuzuki's hair, which frightens him, but it's not her. The morning arrives, and he starts imagining himself eating breakfast before a clapping session with Yuzuki if it weren't for the earthquake. He walks past a group of people, listening to Kotori singing with a smile on her face. Hikaru pops up to greet him, and when Shima asks why he's here, Hikaru tells him that Kotori is going around singing as moral support. Shima then asks them about Yuzuki, and while they don't know where she is, Kotori gives him some food, telling him to eat so he can have the energy to find Yuzuki. As he continues his search, he realizes how many friends he has now, all because of Yuzuki, who came into his life at the start. Suddenly, a little broke bastard steals the food from Shima, and as he runs away, his little sister behind him falls in front of Shima. As the girl is crying, the brother apologizes and begs Shima to not hurt her sister, offering to return him his food. He tells them that they can keep the food, and they happily eat. They reveal that they got separated from their parents, but their big sister is with them, who recently fell unconscious. Shima offers to help the big sister, but after they get to where she is, they reveal that she is not actually their sister, but a stranger named Yuzuki. Out of shock, Shima runs inside and finds Yuzuki unconscious on the floor. He tells the kids to find Kotori and tell her to mention him so she will help them. Shima pulls out the scarf Yuzuki made for him, and with the kids' help, they tie up Yuzuki to Shima's right hand. With Yuzuki in his hold, Shima runs like Forrest Gump with tears in his eyes, relieved to have his love back with him. In her consciousness, Yuzuki is fighting against the cold, trying to get back to Shima, but a light comes and she sees her mother. As she hugs her, the mother tells her that she wants Yuzuki to be happy and to always turn for joy. However, Yuzuki felt that she betrayed her mother when she left her alone to pay off her family's debt and go with Shima's father, Tamayoshi. He tells Yuzuki that she has to take care of his useless deadbeat son, Shima, who can't use his right hand and is worthless to the family. At first, she feels pity that Shima has to endure his father's treatment, but after getting close to him, Yuzuki finds happiness and is sure that her mother will love him. Yuzuki is someone who would normally say what she wants to say, but when it comes to telling Shima how she feels, she bit her tongue before her words escape her mouth. She tries writing him a letter to tell him how she feels, but she always stops when she writes down how much she wants to marry him. Then the earthquake happens and Yuzuki refuses to leave Midori and her baby to die. After they get separated by the fire, she walks alone, weak and missing Shima, but she sees the siblings alone and stranded. Yuzuki helps the siblings and sings them a song to calm them down, but suddenly Yuzuki falls unconscious. She wants to give up and lets herself get eaten by the freezing snow, but hearing Shima's voice gives her the encouragement she needs. Yuzuki starts running, refusing to give up, refusing to stop in the hope of seeing Shima one more time, and as she approaches the light that calls her name, she opens her eyes and sees Shima. They both cry tears of joy, and as she holds his face, she pulls him in for a kiss and gobbles his tongue, shocking everyone. Yuzuki screams out to Shima how much she loves him, causing him to blush, and when he tells her that they're not at home, she gets embarrassed seeing everyone there. Tamako hugs her, telling her how much she misses her, But when Ryo comes in acting like Yuzuki's friend, Tamako wants all the smoke and calls Ryo too broke to be Yuzuki's friend out of jealousy. Then Yuzuki stares at Shima and tells him how happy she is that he came for her. He offers her some porridge, and when she accepts, she opens her mouth wider than what your mom did last night, asking to be fed. Shima feeds her the choo-choo train, and she starts crying again out of happiness. Suddenly, Shima's father, Tamayoshi, pops up alongside his daughter, Tamayo. Tamayoshi tells Manabe that he's here because his other son, Tamaki, is injured in the earthquake, and he needs Manabe to leave Tokyo and help him. Manabe rejects his offer, but Tamayoshi suddenly changes his attention to Shima, asking why this crippled loser of a dead son is here. Manabe tells this old fart that Shima is here for the person that cares about him the most, Yuzuki, and he is not the sane old wimpy loser of a son Tamayoshi knows. Manabe gives Tamayoshi a referral and tells him to leave or eat shit, and Tamayoshi gladly leaves, but before leaving, Shima confronts him, saying that he's glad to see him okay. Shima and Yuzuki stay in Tokyo for a few days to help the people recover and slowly bounce back to health. A month later, as the girls visit the house, they start talking about how Yuzuki should dress up so Shima will want to clap her with one hand. Meanwhile, Shima and Hikaru are bathing in the hot springs, and when Shima wants to get out, the students barge in to join the fun. Then Ryo apologizes to Yuzuki for what she did at the start, and she confesses that she was once bought as well and almost got her virginity clapped by a horrible man's pickle, causing her to get jealous seeing Yuzuki's relationship with Shima. Yuzuki tells her that she has been forgiven for a long time as they are friends. Suddenly, Tamako pops up in the door, and out of jealousy, she starts arguing with Ryo, calling her apology cheaper than the makeup she uses. Kotori reminds them that Shima is near, so they start to get ready. As Shima enters his house, the students greet him and wish him a happy birthday. Despite it being a late celebration, Yuzuki and the others have planned this, even cooking up a feast for him. The students thank him for lending his house, saying that because of him, the village is slowly healing. Shima looks at every single one of them, his newfound family, and thanks them one by one as they have given him a new breath of life. As he gets to Yuzuki, he thanks her for being alive, causing her to cry. Kotori starts singing "You Got a Friend in Me," the song from Toy Story, and Yuzuki looks at Shima with love as they start their family. The next day, the two visit the shrine, and Yuzuki starts yapping about how much she loves him and how much she wants him to hold her hand while her cheeks are clapping. She apologizes for being vulgar, but he tells her that he also feels the same way, stating that because of her, he continues to live on with hope and asks her to be his wife through a kiss. If you watched this anime recap and made it to the end, comment "Hidden jugs are better than no jugs at all." If you like anime recaps like this, watch this video.